Hello, good evening, and welcome to Prague Chattery 777. Well, yes. We are talking about Yes. And to start my series on Yes albums, we're going to start with their third album, which is titled The Yes Album. Oh, yes. I figured I'd start with the third one. I know I've done a complete studio discography of the other bands I've talked about, but with Yes, I figured I'd kind of stick to the classic period in the 70s. And I think that starts with the Yes album. I think the Yes album was their first truly classic one. I'm sure a lot of people would argue that the previous album, Time in a Word, could be considered that, but I don't actually own that album. I've heard it before, but I don't actually, I don't know it well enough to talk about it. That goes with the self-titled debut as well. But I really feel the true story starts with the Yes album. Of course, famously, the previous album, Time in a Word, features an orchestra, which might be successful, maybe not. But it proves that the band Yes were certainly a part of that progressive scene. They were seeking to expand the frontiers, expand the boundaries of rock music, and create something else. But it's on this album that they start to find their muse. They start to find their whole symphonic rock thing. And what Yes was so great at in the '70s. Symphonic rock, right? They don't necessarily need the orchestra to create that. They're writing symphonies and creating symphonic pieces of music, but written for a rock band featuring, lead singer, guitar, bass, keyboards, and drums, which I think is really unique. Massively influential. I mean, so many progressive bands that we know of today would not exist if it weren't for the likes of Yes. And I think what's great about Yes is that they achieved such great commercial success while doing all of this big progressive craziness, and they achieved that because, I mean, there is a commerciality to Yes, I think, compared to bands like Vandergraaf Generator or King Crimson. Yes is very melodic. They're very they're very conscious to make sure their compositions sound nice to the ears. They make sure that things sound sweet, and that applies to this album, and indeed, pretty well all the albums they did, really. So that's great. Um, the musicians on this album, the lineup we have is almost the classic lineup that we all know and love. On vocals and lyrics, we've got John Anderson. On bass, the wonderful bass player, the remarkably melodic and talented bass player, Chris Squire. May he rest in peace. It's very sad to hear of his passing last year. On guitar, we have Steve Howe, who this is actually his debut on a Yes album. It's the first time he played on one. He was the new guy here. On keyboards, right here with a broken foot, is Tony Kaye, and this is his last album for some time. And Tony Kaye is a really underrated keyboardist, I think. I think he's been overshadowed by the fact that Rick Wakeman replaced him. But, particularly on this album, you really get to see what a great keyboardist he is and what he brought to the band. And last but certainly not least, we have Bill Bruford on the drums. Bill Bruford is not only one of my favorite drummers, but he is one of my favorite musicians, just period. He's such a creative musician, and what he brings to his own instrument is just such a unique voice. Bill Bruford doesn't just play the drums. I mean, he's playing with tension and release within the song. He's messing about with the time a lot, and he's really good at that. And for symphonic compositions and songwriting and all that aside, the sheer sound of the band, the sound that they had developed is Bruford is just so crucial to that. Particularly, mainly in the albums that he played on. We're only going to talk about 3 Bruford Yes albums, but that sound that he helped create is so important. He's got a very precise style at this point, and the drum sound is crisp, and it's bombastic too. When obviously Bruford's famous snare sound, that crack. That rim shot, which he developed playing in Yes because the band was so loud and his drums weren't mic'd, so he'd always get the rim shots to make himself heard. And that became a kind of a signature trademark of his playing style. But you know, when he hits the snare and the hi-hat, open hi-hat, or you know, some of the cymbals, it's just so bombastic. It creates a real bombast in the music. Yeah, of course, Bruford was famously too jazzy for the rock guys and too rocky for the jazz guys. So what better band for him to start his career than Yes? Great stuff, great stuff. So yeah, these are the men that brought us this wonderful third album, the Yes album. Not the best album cover in the world, but they were to get better once they got Roger Dean. So let's talk about the songs. Let's talk about the songs. Side 1 opens with "Yours Is No Disgrace." Very famous song. I'm not sure if it's the most famous on the album. I'm not sure, but it is very, very well known and well loved amongst Yes fans, and for good reason. First time we see them doing the expanded song structures and whatnot, and really kind of going for that symphonic approach. It's really good. Although, you know, it's not like some of the other stuff they did, where you know, there'd be this section, this section, this section, this section. You know, for the most part, "Yours Is No Disgrace" really just has, you know, there's the basic verse. There might be a second set of lyrics. And as the song goes on, we get 3 or 4 variations of that verse. So you know, it starts out, we kind of get the spacey, almost a cappella version. Then we get the rock kind of version. Then there's kind of like a country bit, you know, that comes through. And he's repeating, I think, the same lyrics. But it's really good, and it's a great showcase for all the members of the band. They all get to really show off. Now, I love one of the main themes that comes in with Tony Kaye, that ding 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 ding. That's such a classic Yes moment. Very, very good. The intro, and it becomes a theme that pops back a couple of times. Dun 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 dun. It almost sounds like the intro for a radio show or something like that. I think it may have even been taken from a BBC show. I don't want to say that for sure, but something's telling me. I read somewhere Bruford said something in his book, and that was kind of where they got that intro. Some great guitar playing. Steve Howe gets to make his presence known with that famous really, really great little section. That builds into the bridge section, which is fantastic. I love that. Classic stuff. Really, really good. I love those extended Yes instrumentals. And again, they're so influential. I mean, the Dream Theater wouldn't have a chance of existing if Yes didn't do what they did. I like Yes more than I like Dream Theater. Side note. But yeah, "Yours Is No Disgrace." Great intro. Great intro to the album, and you know, one of the classic Yes songs. Then we move into track 2, which is called "Clap." This is a live track. We get a bit of live sounds, and I think it's Steve Howe that comes up to the mic. It's a song called "Clap." And it's really good. It's just a little acoustic solo, really, and we really get to see Howe's virtuosity. He was self-taught guitar player, and it's kind of hard to believe because he does have a great mastery of the instrument. He uses a great deal of fantastic techniques. But it's cool. Like, a clap is very American sounding, actually. It sounds a little out of place. A lot of their stuff is so European, and we kind of get, there's some nice bends in there, and, you know, it's lovely. It's kind of a signature Howe piece, really. Very good. Then side 1 closes with track 3, which is "Starship Trooper," another enormously famous song. This is the second big extended piece, another 10-minute piece. Starship Trooper is a lot different from "Yours Is No Disgrace." You know, like I said, "Yours Is No Disgrace" is, we get a couple of themes and then they explore variations on those themes. Starship Trooper is, you know, one movement, a second movement, and a third movement. It takes you to those 3 places. And it's funny, I never really liked it so much when I was younger, but the older I get, the more I listen to it. I really, really like Starship Trooper. And it's got some great drum fills in there. It really establishes that classic Yes sound. I love the descending, arpeggiated electric guitar in that first section. Divided into 3 sections. We get Life Seeker, Disillusion, and Worm are the 3 sections. Life Seeker is you know, that's that classic Yes kind of deal. Some great keyboard lines. I love that. Great stuff. Tony Kaye is so underrated. He's a great keyboardist. In the second section of Starship Trooper, we're going to return to that fast-paced Steve Howe acoustic guitar sound, which is lovely. Kind of turns into quite a peppy little jig. And a great melody. Like I said, Yes is so melodic, and I think that, attributed to their success. After the fast-paced folkiness of Disillusion, we get a quick reprise of the that descending arpeggiated electric guitar line. There's a quick reprise of the Life Seeker bit, and then we work our way into Worm, which is the third section of the song, and certainly one of the highlights of the album for me. Great way to close out the first side. It's so simple, really. It's just this cool chord progression, and it very slowly builds up, but it's just majestic. It really is majestic. It's a great way to close off that song, and it really brings the song as a whole together for me. Worm is one of the highlights of the album, I think. We flip the record over. We do, yes, we do. We flip it. We get to side 2, which opens with "I've Seen All Good People." Arguably the most well-known song on the album. This one still gets radio airplay on the cool radio stations. It is pretty cool. It's not my favorite Yes song. In fact, I don't want to say it's my least favorite song on the album because we get those short songs, right? So it's kind of hard to compare. But of the big epic songs on the album, it's probably my least favorite. Not as long as the other ones. Only 6 minutes 47. Still divided into 2 sections though. It opens with the big vocal bit. Again, it's such a Yes trademark, the good vocals. And then it works its way into this kind of nice, tranquil, pleasant acoustic passage. And again, we got another great Yes trademark with the do 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 do. Really like that. It's all quite pleasant. We get this for a little while, and it works its way up to the second part, which is called "All Good People," and it really turns into a fast-paced little boogie. Really, it's quite good, and I like how the chord progression descends as the chorus is sang over. "Seen all good people turn their heads each day," and the descending chord progression underneath that is really dramatic and really cool. So I think it's good. I'm not gonna knock it. I quite like it. Track 2 of side 2, so track 5 of the whole album, is "A Venture." Written by Anderson, and it's very not typical of the album. Probably more typical of the stuff they'd done before on the self-titled album "In Time and a Word." But I really like it, actually. I think it's a really good song. We start to see some of the trademark John Anderson things. The way that the vocal melody almost feels like it goes over where it's supposed to. I don't know if that's a good way to describe it, but it sounds really good. I really like that. There's also some very tasteful piano work on that, courtesy of Tony Kaye. I think A Venture is perhaps a little underrated. It's a pretty tight, well put together little composition. And that's quite cool. Then we wind up to track 6, or track 3 of side 2. This closes the album up. We get another epic. This is Perpetual Change. I think this is horrendously underrated. Maybe I just think that because when I first got into Yes, I got a compilation album, and that was the only track from this album that wasn't included was or A Venture, of course, and then Perpetual Change. But it's really good. And again, it follows suit with that symphonic thing that they were trying to do, that expanded song structure thing that they were doing. And it's really quite high energy. Great. There's some great Tony Kaye moments, like that intro, that syncopated intro. Really good. And then the main theme is very anthemic, so it fits the closing of the album. I love the main, guitar. Great stuff. And then there's an absolutely crazy middle section where all hell breaks loose, basically. And I really like that too. That's another great display for Tony Kaye, and Bruford is just on fire with the fast middle section too. The left hand on that snare is just going crazy, man. And Bruford's got such great control over the timbre of the drum. You can get about 10 different sounds out of one drum or more. So yeah, Perpetual Change is really good. It wins for that crazy middle section for me. I like it more than All Good People. I may even like it more than Starship Trooper, which is that controversial? Maybe, I don't know. But yeah, I think that just about wraps it up for the Yes album. Of course, obviously, I should say it's released in 1970, but you probably already knew that, and I probably should have just stated that at the beginning of the video. So yeah, I guess I hope you enjoyed. You've been listening to me ramble on about the Yes album, the third album released by Yes, the first of what I would consider the classic period. First album featuring Steve Howe, and the last album until the 80s to feature Tony Kaye. So that's all good and interesting. Thank you very much for watching, everybody. I hope you found it interesting. Hit me, give me a subscribe, send me a like, send me some comments, and we will see you all in the future where I discuss Yes's fourth album, Fragile. So we'll see you then. Take care.